Hey, what's going on, guys? It's Turin here with another Warhammer Total War online commentary. In this particular battle, I will indeed be playing the Warriors of Chaos, and I'm going to be facing off against my Chaos brethren, the Beastmen, or more specifically, the Shadow Herd, I believe is what they're called. But that pretty much is essentially just a tell that they're going to be using Morker, the Shadow Gave over there. So we'll go ahead and see how he does in this matchup. So as far as my army composition goes, I have a front line of Chaos Warriors with shields. Again, you don't really bring them in this matchup for the shields, but the shielded variants do have quite a bit higher melee defense, so in really sustained combat versus low tier infantry, they'll cut through them pretty quick, and obviously their lack of armor piercing isn't really going to be a big deal, because most of the Beastmen roster, with the exception of Gorbals, have almost no armor. So on that same note, that's why the Aspiring Champions are also quite good in this matchup. Very hard hitting, extremely high stats across the board, but of course they do lack armor piercing, so in matchups versus heavily armored enemies, they tend to struggle a little bit and give lackluster performances, but against the Beastmen, these guys are going to be MVPs. They're going to be great. So I have 3 of those in the secondary line. And in the back, I have Forsaken. So Forsaken are so good in the Beastmen matchup. I actually like, Forsaken in almost any matchup. They just have so much utility, considering they have 48 move speed, which is so fast for infantry. They also have pretty high leadership. And if you guys see when buffed right now, they actually have 64 weapon strength. They just hit like absolute trucks. And of course, they have, as you guys know, an outstanding charge bonus. So big fan of Forsaken. They will tear through Ungors, Gore herds, all that stuff pretty quickly, and can even do a ton of shock damage too. If for example, if you have a group of infantry that have kind of been, flanked by cav, you can bring these guys and actually bring them in the flank, and they'll get a really nice charge bonus and do pretty well against, Centaurs and those type of units as well. So big fan of Forsaken here, and I have 2 groups. In the back, I do have one group of Chaos Warriors with halberds. I didn't want to overload on them, but these guys are very, very strong against Gorbals. And now that Gorbals don't have potions, I've actually been seeing people opt to only bring 1 Gorbal, and have been bringing, maybe 2 casters for the double Flock of Doom and things like that. But still, Gorbals are obviously a very, very serious threat when you're bringing KHOLEK, because, they have an anti-large and armor piercing and all that fun stuff. So having the Chaos Warriors to kind of run around, help support KHOLEK, and if need be, they can deal with Centaurs really, really well also, assuming they can catch them, because they do have 28 speed to the almost 100 of Centaurs. So I do have some Chaos Warriors here, and then of course I have KHOLEK. So he got a nice new buff in this most recent patch. He does have like a tail whip attack, so hopefully you guys will get to see when I have him engaged in like a big kind of heated melee situation, he actually will whip the people behind him with his tail, which is pretty nice against low tier infantry. He also did receive a bonus against large, if I'm not mistaken. I think it was +10, so he got that, and the Shaggoth and as well as KHOLEK both got some nice buffs this patch. But I might post a video on this next week. I actually planned on doing it the day that the patch came out, but I actually had a bit of a cold, so I had to take that day off. But maybe I'll do something just breaking down all of the changes in the most recent patch. So I do have KHOLEK there. He's got Lord of the Storm, and then up in the air here I have 2 Chaos Pharaoh Manticores. The Terror is very nice. I wanted to have some mobility and some dive potential to go after Morgar more specifically. But these guys are just great unit. They can intercept Centaurs, just all around solid. And of course I have a Chaos Sorcerer with the Lure of Fire. They did nerf the Cascading Fire Cloak. So as you guys probably remember before, Cascading Fire Cloak was an AoE effect. So it hit all your units, which is really, really good. But now it's only single target, so I might have to rethink bringing it, or maybe substitute it with some other stuff. But still, it's a pretty good ability. Despite all that, it's still very, very cheap. But the Flaming Sword of Ruin, however, is still an AoE effect. So you guys can rest assured that the Flaming Sword of Ruin is still quite good. And then, of course, I do have some Chaos Poison Warhounds. So what I want to ideally do is use them, for example. As you can see, there's a huge Centaur herd coming over the hill. I'd like to, intercept them with these Chaos Poison Warhounds, let these guys just take a beating, and then follow up with my Manticores and get that nice, juicy charge. So that's kind of my game plan, guys. So my opponent, he has just Gore herds with shields, so just, fairly high tier fodder units, but still, they're pretty durable and have decent stats, and they'll stand up against Chaos Warriors quite a bit longer than the Ungor Spearman herds would. So he has those guys. He has 2 Gorbals. He has Morgar, the Shadow Gave here. It looks like he's got some more Ungor herds. So just Ungors across the board and Gore herds and all that kind of fun stuff. He does have a Cygor as well, who's been taking some pot shots. It looks like he made some decent contact in my front line and was able to take out 4 or 5 models, and also splashed a little bit onto those Aspiring Champions. So aside from Morgar and the Gorbals here, most of the bulk of his army is invested in these Centaurs here. He actually has a great weapon variant here, 2 great weapons, and then a regular group here. So the regular group obviously will do quite good against Forsaken, especially my Hounds, but the great weapons are pretty good against Chaos. I actually like them. So if he's able to get a nice charge of my Chaos Warriors or Aspiring Champs, he'll be having a good time. So without further ado, let's get right into the action. So one of the things I've kind of realized against Morgar is I kind of just leave him as the last target. But something I did realize is KHOLEK does a pretty good job. I mean, with that heavy hitting weapon strength of 520, I kind of feel like he will be able to get through Morgar's defenses, but we will go ahead and see here momentarily. So I'm continuing to take boulder fire from the Cygor right there. He's getting some nice shots in there. You can see he just hit those Chaos Warriors. We're actually down to 53 models right now, so that Cygor is doing quite well for himself. So personally in the Chaos matchup, I wouldn't like to bring a Cygor, just because, Halberdiers and Forsaken and other units do pretty well against his lightly armored Cygor, and especially Manticores. If you get like a group of Manticores who dive onto Cygor, it can be pretty devastating. You can take him out quite quickly. So over here, I was able to actually catch him with these Chaos Poison Warhounds and get a nice little engagement, and then my Manticores were able to come in and kind of swoop him. So I really like this composition with Chaos, because again, you're not suffering the same consequences of having, you know, Chaos Knights, which are extremely expensive and, you know, would have been easily isolated by these guys. But thankfully, you know, I'm able to just use these as fodder and then use these secondary units as follow-up. So I get a really nice trade there. You can see a bunch of these Centaurs here took a bit of a beating, so I was quite happy about that. Over here, I do get a Lord of the Storm. It's not as devastating as it has been. I wonder if they changed that, because you guys have seen it against the Dwarves and other factions. It does really, really good. So the Chaos Warriors in the front line are going to engage with these low-tier troops, and it's going to be a really bad day for these Ungors. They're going to get slaughtered for the Blood God here. It's going to be real, real tough. And especially when you see the Aspiring Champion saturated in here, that's going to be a real party for these guys. So over here, the Forsaken, I pulled the two groups of Forsaken over here in KHOLEK because I wanted to really win this battle against the Centaurs over here. And you can see he does have two Gorbals, so I really have to be careful with KHOLEK. And you can see as soon as I get targeted, I just get KHOLEK and start running. And KHOLEK, he has 80 move speed to the 70 of the Gorbal, so he actually can outrun them, which is really nice. So I also use a Flaming Sword of Ruin over here, which hits a few of my units, but the Chaos, he did summon his Chaos Spawn with Morgurt, which are, you know, they're doing fairly well, but honestly in the Chaos match, I don't think Chaos Spawn are that good, interestingly enough, but I'm able to surround these Gorbals here, and KHOLEK comes in, and so essentially with KHOLEK in this matchup, I'm just going to be coming in and out and getting these kind of guerrilla strikes, because the longer I sit in sustained combat with Gorbals, the worse off I'm going to be. So you can see I immediately just pull out my mobile units, and essentially I just wanted to allow these Chaos Spawn to just, you know, despawn a little bit, and, you know, let them whittle away, and didn't want to give my opponent the benefit of, you know, being able to just beat on me with them. And you can see they degenerate pretty quickly. Their HP is ticking down very, very fast. So I just pull back here, and then I was essentially waiting for these Chaos Warriors with Halberds. So once they were able to make it over, I re-engage, because this is going to be very bad for my opponent's troops he has here. These guys have an anti-large bonus. Looks like I did cast the Cascading Fire Cloak there as well, but these guys will annihilate the Chaos Spawn, and they'll do really, really well against pretty much all these units over here. But my opponent gets a nice little charge in the back of some of my Manticores here, but they're still in pretty good shape, thankfully for me. But Morgurt is in here. He's applying some poison, and you can see he's done a little bit of damage to this one Manticore here, and he does have it shaken. I believe the Gorbals were getting a nice little pimp slap on that, so I was able to get KHOLEK out. I didn't want him in that kind of pocket there, and the Chaos Poison Warhounds come in here, and you can see he gets a few really good hits on Morgurt, and he's able to lay the smackdown on him. KHOLEK, again, one of the, you know, most serious forces to be reckoned with in this game, having over 500 weapon strength. So I tie him up with the Hounds, and as soon as the Gorbal gets there, I just pull back. And again, in this matchup, when using KHOLEK in general, you have to be very careful with him. I mean, as tanky as he is, he kind of plays like a glass cannon, because, you know, he doesn't have any modality of healing. He's a very, very big target, so you always have to be pretty careful of that. I have quite a nice situation over here, though. I have some Forsaken with the Flaming Sword of Ruin, so I can imagine their weapon strength is, you know, around 70 right now, which is pretty incredible for an infantry unit. So against these low armored units, it's going to be quite good. My opponent does summon a second group of Chaos Spawn here, so this is going to be a little tricky, as Chaos Spawn are going to do very well against Forsaken. They're definitely going to cut them to shreds, but you can see he's chasing everything after Big Daddy KHOLEK. KHOLEK, I'm just kind of running him and having him do laps through these units, and I'll run in, get a nice melee attack, kill a few units, and then run back out. That's kind of the way I've been playing with KHOLEK since this new patch. So over here, this is kind of the other pitched battle. You can see the Cygor is, you know, surrounded by Chaos Warriors and Aspiring Champions, but I don't have any anti-large. Though it is shaken, it's doing a pretty good job just laying the smackdown on some of my units here, and it's definitely allowing these more low-tier troops here, who otherwise would be crushed very quickly, to, you know, have a bit of fighting chance. So the Aspiring Champs, though, are still just such good units in this matchup. Let's go ahead and take a look at their health across the board. So these Aspiring Champs, let's see, there's a group here, so they probably took a bit of damage because they were fighting that Cygor. But this group here is still, you know, 12 models, and over here I actually brought a group as well, just for that encouragement. Although KHOLEK was there, so I probably didn't need to do that. But you can see the Gorbals are, you know, getting kited around a little bit, and these guerrilla strikes with KHOLEK have been doing pretty good. And when he hits them, I mean, the fact that potions are gone on those units is so nice. And actually, I think I got a nice Lord of the Storm here I wanted to show you guys. So it comes in here and does pretty huge damage to that big group, and some Chaos Warriors coming back from routing are definitely going to make, you know, a bad day for these guys. And finally, this it looks like this Cygor is starting to waver, which is good. It probably means it's about to break, and I have a very healthy group of Chaos over here. My opponent is actually starting to use his Centaurs to chase KHOLEK, which is very, very well played on his part. You can see the two Gorbals chasing him. But I bring KHOLEK in here and just get a nice smack on this Cygor, and it actually breaks him. And KHOLEK, you know, just a few swings, you can see that does, you know, another 8 to 10%. It knocks him over. This is some Godzilla vs. King Kong shit. It's definitely going well. But you see, he's starting to get worn down. Those two Gorbals chasing me, it's been very, very tough. But now that I have this one isolated, he's able to get a nice hit, hitting it for about 10 to 15% of his HP. Another hit there, you know, it's wavering, and now it's broken. So it just goes to show, show, if you can get KHOLEK in the right situation, you can just absolutely smash these units. And that Gorbel actually gets killed there, so very, very well played by KHOLEK there. And now he's going to come in. This other Gorbel who overchased a little bit is going to get smacked down, and things are looking pretty good here. He does still have a Morgur over here, and as you guys have seen in past replays, this guy is an absolute menace to kill. But something I found, the Aspiring Champions were actually holding up really well against him. I don't know if he has some sort of weakness. I don't think he has a weakness to magic, but they were doing quite a bit of damage, and most of this HP damage in here you see is from them. So KHOLEK's coming back here. He's got the Hordes of Chaos, and this is probably the end of days for Big Papa Morgur. I gotta get that name down. A lot of the new units, including the Wood Elves roster, have been pretty bad. But my opponent does summon these Chaos Spawn here, but against all these Chaos Warriors with Halberds and, Chaos Spawn themselves, let's see, they actually only have 15 armor, so against, like, low-tier infantry, not low-tier, excuse me, but, non-armor-piercing infantry that have really high, combat stats like Chaos Warriors, they're going to get cut to shreds really quickly, and you guys can see how fast they go down. It's pretty quick there. He does come in with some Centaurs to get a little nice rear charge, but those guys are shaken. They're probably going to break here shortly. And Morgur as well is in a very, very bad shape, and I decided to just run KHOLEK around a little bit and have him go after some of these loose units rather than, risk having him get, poisoned and hit by Morgur here. So thankfully I was able to shatter him, and you can see he's pretty low at this point. So that is all she wrote for our Beastmen opponent. Definitely a very, very fun game. And I don't know if I necessarily noticed the buffs to KHOLEK that game, but he felt like he performed pretty well. And that additional bonus to large, which I believe he did get, seems to be, I think I did actually notice that a little bit against the Gorbel. So very good stuff there. But anyways, across the board, Forsaken did pretty good. And the Manticores, obviously, providing that terror. They did very, very well at intercepting the Centaurs throughout the battle and focusing key targets. The Warhounds I really liked a lot too, but across the board, these Chaos Warriors, just great performers. I mean, 98 kills, and you got, for 500 gold, you're getting 50, 49, and obviously not many there because they were fighting the Cygor for most of the battle, but still, very good performance from those Aspiring Champs as well. As far as my opponent's roster goes, Morgur and the Chaos Spawn did a pretty good job, but across the board, it seemed a little bit tough, and I don't know how I feel about the Cygor. I think having some sort of Minotaur would have been really nice, like maybe just the standard. I actually, in the Chaos matchup, I really like the Great Weapon one because KHOLEK, they're good against Manticores, they're good against KHOLEK, they're good against Cav. Pretty decent choice in my opinion. But anyways, very well played to my opponent, Roadkill68. I look forward to seeing you again on ladder, and I hope you guys enjoyed this Chaos cast. Have an excellent night and take care.